I think we're live. Okay, this is Unfoff Neverborn, the abyss that slumbers, and you are listening to Eldritch Rants, show that dares to ask the question, what the hell are they thinking? Our panel of experts is kind of small today. We've got Chief, the Chiefs, and no relation to the baseball team by the same name, and Mr. Gurr. Otherwise, everybody seems to be busy or need to sleep tonight. Okay, power to them. We're going to be starting off with, I figure we're just going to make this depressing all around, about the girl who was live streaming while driving and then gets in an accident because of it, kills her 14-year-old sister in the process, and on the live stream goes, hey, if you're wondering why I'm in jail, it's because I just killed my 14-year-old sister. Any thoughts on this horrific event? Other than, I believe that was Florida, correct?
I'm not too sure. I'm looking at it right now. I'm going to see where it's from.
Yeah, I mean,
California.
Oh,
California.
I'm sorry, California. Oh no, that makes more sense. Florida's more for like craziness, and California is best known for its complete narcissism. It makes more sense.
Pretty much, yeah.
Here, I'm gonna read you a quote from it. So she said, "Yeah, if I go to fucking jail, you guys know why. Oh no, everybody, if I go to fucking jail for life, you already know why. My sister's fucking dead." That's what she says.
Yeah, I mean, from what I can see, and I hate to say it, I want to go, oh, it was shock. She was just, no, it's like she had no remorse. Like no concept of anybody else beyond herself. Like completely 100%, no empathy. Like, we've talked about the dump our empathy limit. She's got about a 1, and that's herself.
She actually did a post a little bit before this when she was, and it said, when you almost crashed the car because you're on Snapchat, something like that.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And she was doing like a duck face or whatever else, like, yeah, just not caring. Oh, man.
How? See, I've found very few actual sociopaths. I've found people who they think they're sociopaths, but they're not. They're just freaking in denial and don't want to admit reality. Like, an actual sociopath can fake caring. Like, an actual sociopath pretends to care, and they know when to pretend because they know they don't want to get caught. When I see somebody like this, I want to call her a sociopath, but she's not. She's just a horrible person. There's nothing to blame here. There's no insanity. She just either nobody ever told her how to care about anybody else, or for whatever reason, she's learned not to care about anybody. You know what? I mean, this reminds me of something I just saw today. I was looking at this puzzle some of the clients were putting together. They pick up old puzzles from like Salvation Army order and then put them together. Some of them are just OCD and calms them down. But it was from Disney, and it was of one of their Disney stars, and it said, she's there, she's smiling, there's all these lights and sparkly stuff, and it's like really girly, and then at the top it says, always trouble. And part of me just wants to sit there and just set it on fire and just go, no, that's not a good thing. It is not good to be always trouble. It is not good to be, edgy all the time. Being a responsible person's pretty cool because your sister doesn't die. Sorry. Any thoughts from you guys? I know I'm ranting.
Yeah, just what I was saying before we went on air about the whole narcissistic thing that's growing in the West, basically. People seem to want to get fame. Well, so many people want fame, but now it's kind of like almost within everyone's grasp with the internet and being internet famous and things. And since the days of like American Idol, X Factor, and things like that, where you just turn up and expect to become the next pop sensation. And now, with the advent of things like live streaming, especially on Facebook, where it's so easy just to click a button and live stream your entire life, and some people actually get famous like that, and they're putting their own fame or pseudo fame before their actual real life, and before their own families or safety.
Well, I mean, since that's an important thing to bring up, I mean, this show is about helping people to build their own content. Something you need to realize that a lot of these people, like her, don't. They think that, oh, I can be like PewDiePie, I can just start filming myself and say a bunch of crazy stuff and people will flock to you. It's not like that. Okay, I've checked plenty of channels that have like years of content and 48 subscribers.
Yeah.
And then they think, oh, I just need to be edgy. I just need to be something to attract. No, you need to be something that appeals to people. You need to have thought and reason and logic. People like to watch a train wreck, but nobody likes a train wreck. People slow down to watch the accident, but it's not good to be the accident. And to be good at this, you need to practice. You need to put in work. All the best content creators, even the guys that like only make it to 1,000 or so, they put in hours every day. And these people don't want to put in time or effort or practice or anything. They just want to like say edgy things into a camera while she drives along and kill somebody. Well, you got your 15 minutes of fame. You made it on CNN. Congratulations. But that's not how you become somebody who people respect.
The sad thing is, so some of these people, even after doing all this, let's say her, she probably has supporters. Yeah, man, it boggles my mind.
Well, there's going to be social justice warriors. You're going to find some way to use. Oh, wait a minute, you're pressing the phone.
We need to blame this on the system. It's not her fault.
It's men's fault, I'm sure. In some way. I'm sure men are to blame.
I'm sure there's an article about this saying it's not her fault. It's society's. Society's made her this way. Let's not blame that. Let's blame
the cis white males.
Yeah, the patriarch is like responsible somehow.
Whenever I run into people like this at my job, I don't know if feminism drives you crazy or crazy people are trying to defend them, but they come through the system. And I'm beginning to believe, and I heard this a while ago, and I'm beginning to believe this, the weakness of men is we fall for the whole superhero myth. I'm going to go off to war and win. No, you're probably going to be one of tens of thousands of bodies chewed up by the machine. Now, your chances of you being the lucky winner is low. But women tend to fall for that whole victim narrative. Like, it's their weakness. You're a victim. They fall for it. And when I see people like this, that's what I think of. That they're like, oh, I'm a victim. Oh, I just killed my sister. Woe is me. What? Why woe is you? Why are you the victim here? Why is this all about you? Or, and it's what you see in all these feminist articles. Oh, like that crazy one I saw the other day, where he was talking about how men enjoying women's orgasm is racist, is sexist. Like, men enjoying pleasuring their women is bad. Like, you shouldn't enjoy it when your woman enjoys sex. It should be a job. It should be a chore. You're like reading this and going, wow, feminism takes the fun out of everything. Yeah, it all seems to be about like this desire to make themselves a victim even when they're winning. But going on, shall we move on to the next?
I think jealousy goes along to it too when it comes to women and feminism.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, if it's a young feminist, she's got that advantage where she's cute and, guys want to get in their pants. So they'll tell her, yeah, you're completely right when you have your crazy theories. But then they get older and they're not cute anymore, and the guys don't want to sleep with them. And then suddenly, when they say their crazy theories, the guy comes along and tells her the truth. Your theory is crazy. And suddenly she doesn't have power anymore, and she wasted all her time falling on a bunch of dicks. And now that she hasn't found, somebody to spend her life with, and she's wasted it, she doesn't have any future or anybody to take care of her. Not having children, she goes, "Oh my God, I'm all alone." And then what do you do? How do you get power? Well, the power being the victim. I'm a victim of everything. I'm suffering, and you need to help me because I'm suffering. Woe is me. Feel pity for me. And then, it's the tyranny of tears, the cry bully. That's the cry bully is what a woman does when she isn't cute anymore. I hate to be this cynical. I really do, to be this generalizing. Because there's a big part of me that wants to say, no, it's not like that. Because I really don't want to think that low of humanity. But when I look at the list of articles we have tonight, my opinion of humanity. Shall we move on to the next low point?
Yes, we should.
Yeah.
Oh, he died. Teens mock drowning man in disturbing video. A man, for some reason, decided to commit suicide. Walks into a lake and drowns. And 5 teams filmed it and made fun of the disabled man as he drowned. Now, on one level, I want to go, well, I guess if the guy's trying to kill himself and you go out there and help him, you might join him. That might not be so smart. Maybe you should have done something while he was still at, in the shallow depth. On the other hand, they didn't call the police. You should have said, wow, that guy's trying to drown himself. Dude, are you trying to drown? Ask, are you trying to drown yourself? And you go, I'm going to call 911. At least do that. But no. Unfortunately, the way the Good Samaritan law, you can't prosecute somebody for not helping. But to openly make fun of them and then post it online, you are a frickin' moron. You're just...
And a piece of shit.
Yeah, you're a piece of shit. A horrible person. Because you had, again, no empathy. None. Zero. Zilch. You can't see anything. And you might go, oh, wait, but there was a group of teenagers, and so they were egging each other on, and they were showing off for each other. And it's like, well, if you're that led by your peers and you can't see that if somebody's killing themselves, that you don't want to be the hero, you don't want to save the day. Trust me, I will tell you this. I have saved lives. It's amazing. It is amazing. And I don't know if I've told you guys this story, but I remember one night I'm working really late, one house, and there's 3 of us on. 2 blocks over, a house catches on fire. 2 a.m. They're like going, oh my God, what do we do? And I'm already calling 911 on my cell phone and grabbing the fire extinguisher that we have on site and running over there. Now, there was nothing to be done. It was too late. By the time you can see the fires 2 blocks over, it's too late. One person got out and everybody else was dead. There was no going in. There was no getting anybody out at that point. It was just... But I went over. Now, at the very least, I found out it was a death trap and there was... And so I went back over and I talked to the other coworkers a little bit, answered their questions, and they watched for a while, and, that was... I don't work there regularly. I'm back there 2 weeks later with the same people, and they're just talking to me about it. Like, they've been talking about it forever, about how terrible it was. And I realized something. You guys feel so terrible about it, not because of what happened, but because you guys were paralyzed, didn't go do anything, and so now you're beating yourselves up. If you had done something, if you at least tried and failed, you wouldn't be half as upset as you are now. But because you didn't take a chance and try to be helpful, to be a hero and fail, you regret it. And trust me, you regret it. When you see an opportunity to help somebody else, and you might be saying, I don't know what's going on, I didn't understand it, that's one thing. But when you reach that point where it's clear he's dying, oh, he just died, You know, go out there and pull the body ashore and do CPR. You got about 5 freaking minutes. Seriously. You know, if he's not moving anymore, it's really easy to drag him back to shore. Christ. I don't know. Hear the guy's thoughts? Sorry to dominate.
Yeah, it's fine. What I have to say about it is, I was looking to see. I read 3 different articles so far. None of them mention if he did commit suicide, if this was suicide. None of them mention that. They're really just focusing on the teams.
From reading everything.
I'm assuming too, but I'm not too sure. One of them mentioned he was disabled. How was he disabled? Oh, I'm not too sure. But yeah, the main point of this is the teens. I'm going to defend the teens in the way that I don't know if they should have jumped into there, but yes, they were watching for quite some time. So even when he just got into the pond, yeah, it's really hard to tell.
Yeah, I have to say, if you're not, well, I wouldn't say necessarily qualified as a lifeguard or anything like that, but if you're not entirely confident that you're a strong enough swimmer to get over there and drag him out and know that you're going to be okay, I would have recommended that no one get in there.
No, I can see that point too. If you say, my God, I could not save him, and you're not physically able to, okay, I got it. But you don't make fun of him. You called 911. You call the professional.
They made fun of him to the end. Yeah, it's so sad.
Yeah, that's not what you do. Like, that is the opposite of being helpful. And if he was committing suicide, to hear somebody from shore making fun of me as I die, I'd be saying to myself, you know what? I am totally making the right decision right now. Yeah.
And if the last thing that he heard was, no one's going to save you, you stupid idiot, or whatever they say, I'm not going to repeat what they said.
I would have to say 90% of the suicides that I deal with are actually, just trying to see if there's anybody else on the planet who gives a crap about it. That's it. They are cries for help, usually, because suicide is a permanent solution to a temporary problem. But the thing is that sometimes people have a really hard time asking for help. And asking for help is weakness. It is. You're admitting you're weak. And if you show weakness in front of the wrong people, like these 5 assholes, they'll attack you. That's the truth. That's reality. But here's the other reality. Because it's scary to admit you're weak, you have to be a brave person to admit you're weak. Saying you're weak is courage. Okay? And I admire courage. To admit you're weak is courageous, and I admire courageous people. So if you're willing to admit you're weak, I admire that. Other people may see it as weakness and jump on you and attack you. So you do need to be careful. You can't just walk around saying I'm weak, because there are people who will find that as an invitation to open fire on you.
Yeah.
You have to watch who you admit weakness to. I'm sorry, that's the horrible world we live in. But
basically, don't say that you're having suicidal thoughts and post on 4chan.
Oh man, 4chan. That's a whole other beast.
Yeah, I mean, 4chan, on the other hand, you know what's going on there. That's a briar patch. That's what they do. Briar patch. You have to expect abuse. You can't go and show weakness there because they love weakness. But there are other places where you can go and talk to people. Hey, wow, that sucks. Glad you asked for help. Or heck, there's 1-800 numbers for you.
And plenty of websites as well where there's people ready to chat.
But, this is just a cautionary tale about, don't go looking for random kindness. Don't say, oh, I'm going to test the universe and hope somebody saves me. Don't. Just the universe. There are people who want to save you. You just don't want to look for them. Or they're just not the right person you want to save you. That I run into a lot. Where it's like, oh, no, it's not that you don't want me to help you. You don't want help. It's you want help from a very specific person. Who is it? And usually when I phrase it that way, when I know it's hard to explain, but sometimes you can tell that's the problem by the way they talk. If I'm right, I usually get, well, okay, I want to hear from X, like ex-boyfriend, ex-girlfriend, missing mother, dead parent, whatever. It's a problem when they want help from a dead father, but, you know, at least it gets it out there. You know? Unnecessary drama on both sides here. And it's just sad. It's just.
Yeah, I think that really wraps up that. Let's go on to the next depressing one, the 15-year-old.
Oh, God, yeah. I mean, I don't really want to go into the details too much, but it's pretty straightforward. 15-year-old girl, train station, gets raped. Runs out, flags down a ride to get for help. The person who picks her up in the car then rapes her.
That is a definition of this. Life isn't fair.
Yeah, that's
right.
Just,
that's so
that's
bad.
That life isn't fair right there, but like it's not that they were working together, you know. And what was it, as you said, Mr. Gurr, that they were the paper is defining them as Asian?
Yeah.
I don't think that they actually were described as Asian looking. Maybe, you know, Middle Eastern Asian, perhaps, but
yeah,
certainly not native to England or the UK.
No. Yeah. They do have this code for if any Muslim or Middle Eastern looking person, they never describe them as that. They always describe them as Asian.
If I was Asian, I'd be pissed about that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I wonder how the Asians feel about this.
I don't think there's a heavy Asian population in the UK, though.
There isn't. It's very minimal.
We have a actually pretty big Asian population over here.
It's more like you'll see more when you get into the larger cities. But in general, they are a much minority than Middle East, Pakistani, things like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the news trying to censor everything. But, oh, you know what? Maybe a little side note to bring up to you guys. Because I was talking with somebody down in New York City. And you know how they keep trying to pin all this Russian stuff on Trump?
Yeah.
Well, actually, this person actually came up with something that I don't think is actually real, but it did strike me as rather curious as to why it's never been brought up before. Trump Village is basically these 4 towers with lots of co-ops in it. Excuse me one second. Sorry about that. Need to go. Anyway, it's like almost completely filled with Russians. And the person that I was talking to, they're black. They're married to a black man who is like not a police commissioner, but like one level down. And apparently he inherited quite a bit of money. So he like tried repeatedly to get into Trump Village, and they went in. And like over time, it's like, wow, they don't let anybody who isn't Russian into Trump Village. And they definitely don't want cops in there. I was like, you know what you describe it? It sounds like the Russian mob took over. And at first I'm like, I didn't believe her. And then she showed me this picture of like the parking garage area. And it's got Donald Trump's face. And it has all this writing in English. And then it has everything in English is also in Russian.
Oh, man, yeah. And I'm also surprised you don't see on the news because of the SJWs, right? You think they'd be calling that racism.
Oh, you think they would just come right out and go, oh, here it is. He's got all these Russians in Trump Tower.
Oh, yeah, Russian, racism, all that.
Here's what was going on, though, when we got to talking to her. One, she thinks it's basically taken over by the Russian mob. And two, it's in New York City where most of these news stations like have major network areas. And her theory is the reason why nobody has ever brought this up is that because the news media is terrified of the Russian mob. Like they'll say, "Oh, Putin did all this crap," but if Trump was actually working with the Russian mob, they wouldn't say jack. They wouldn't say anything about it because the Russian mob terrorizes them.
Yeah, they're not actually going to name a Russian mob
because apparently
person.
The Russian mob like owns part of the media. Like they really have their fingers in everything. And these guys, I've looked at her apartment she was talking about. It's like $400,000 and a 1-bedroom. $350, and I'm like, wow. But she goes, oh yeah, and I'm like, and we got to talking, and I managed to convince her it isn't Trump's fault that he's got an apartment building full of racist Russians. She's like, okay, maybe Trump isn't racist because he's got racist Russians in the apartment building. I don't think there's any connection there, any more than Donald Trump. At worst, I think Donald Trump goes, yeah, there's a lot of awfully rich Russians who have no jobs there, whose jobs are all in imports. But I just think that the only thing he's probably guilty of is not looking too close. I don't think he's working with them.
Trump Village and Trump Towers, is that the same thing?
No, I think there's Trump Towers and Trump Village are two different things. Trump Towers, she said, also has quite a bit of Russians, but Trump Village, or maybe it was the other way around, I'm remembering it. One of those two is she showed me a picture of the parking garage. And it's like, what does all that squig? That's Russian. It's all written in Russian because the building is just overrun with them. But the point was, what happens with a lot of immigrant, they form a colony, an insular colony where they don't assimilate, and a lot of the money gets sent back to the old country. They're not here to become Americans. They're here to harvest American resources and return it back. And it isn't, people complain about Muslims. It's also Russians. And it's any country is capable of doing this. But it just happens to be that some countries do it more than others.
Yeah.
That's why I'm kind of a nationalist. I'm not a supremacist, but I'm definitely you know what? It's time we stop sending money to other countries. They don't need our money.
Yeah, a few years ago, there was that going on here with Polish immigrants. However, now they've said, screw it, let's just bring the families over. And so now the money's just, more or less staying in the UK.
Oh, hold on one sec. I'm going to send a invite to somebody.
During the big, quite big boost of Polish immigrants that came over to work in the factories.
There you go, Mad Dodge. Feel free to hop on. When you get here, I'll delete the link. Actually, it doesn't. I wouldn't care. It's kind of a slow night, but yeah, I mean, that was just something I wanted to bring up in passing. Just a recurring problem is, colonization. That's what it is.
Yeah, because when the first people came over, it was mostly just the young men from 18 to 30 wanting to make a bit more money, and they'd send it back to their families or whatever. And now they've said, well, may as well just bring the families over.
Well, moving on to vanity, shall we continue that chain?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the inmate who videoed his own escape from prison with his phone. This one in Santa Ana, California. The age of narcissism is upon us. That while he was making a jailbreak out of the maximum security wing of the Southern California jail last year, he did it with a smuggled cell phone that he used to record in the process. 3 inmates shimmying into a vent, crawling out through plumbing shafts, etc. And then he edited it with pop music and TV news clips about his escape.
Well, if no one else is going to make the documentary about him, he may as well do it himself.
Wow. I mean, I just want to sit there and just go. Part of me is like, okay, I'm kind of glad you did it. And then part of me is kind of like going, are you a bloody moron for releasing proof that you did it? But then again, I guess because he was a prisoner, if he got captured, it wouldn't matter.
Yeah.
Like, you know what? In retrospect, I guess he didn't have anything to lose. But
The cops are going to be after him either way.
oh, I know his lawyer was the one who released the camera, so I think I'm not sure if they have him though. That was never clear in the article here.
However, it does make him more recognizable to the general public.
No, I mean, looking at this, I think they do have him in jail. I think they recaptured him. But it's
Man, they should just follow the trend of videotaping yourself doing stupid things. Or
yeah, I think that's it though. Although possibly they could, maybe they could sell the movie rights to it. I mean, maybe that's all it's about. Yeah, I broke out of jail and here's the movie rights. Knowing how liberal and crazy California's gotten, I can see them like going, "Oh, you're so brave for, ignoring the law."
Yeah,
that's amazing. Let's give you your own Lifetime movie network show. Except in the process, we're going to have a lot of women, be victims. We're going to have you all be women. Actually, you know what? We're going to make you transgender in the movie. How about that? You mind that? Wait a minute. What you doing? Okay, so you're going to be 3 transgenders escaping from prison because all the other prisoners are torturing you because all the other prisoners.
And all the prisoners.
Yeah, that's mad.
All the guards and the warden just have to be cis white males.
Oh yeah, and they just got to constantly there's just going to, every scene you just see some white guy beating a black guy with a, no matter what they could be having lunch and everybody just be ignoring the beating going on. By the way, did you hear they're going to be doing that on HBO? They're going to be doing a TV series about what if the South won the Civil War. God, that's I don't know. I'm not going to watch it, but I'm just seeing, because it's HBO and you're dealing with slavery.
Well, are they doing it like, so it's modern day now?
It's modern day now. F the South won.
Well, it would have still been abolished anyway.
Yeah, it would have. But if they keep the slavery around in the present day, the only thing I want is all the slave owners have to be Democrats, because all the slave owners were Democrats. At the time, the Democrats were the slave owners. But I'm telling you right now, in the show, it's going to be all Republicans. And you know why they're making it? They're making it because
the video idea.
I'm sorry. What'd you say?
Give me a second.
Sorry to cut you off. What'd you say?
The video idea. It just came back to me.
Oh, what was the video idea?
Quick note.
It was on why the moon landing wasn't faked.
Oh yeah. Although you got some stiff competition now. The Russians put out that picture that they said, I think it was like $100,000 reward to anybody who can prove that it's fake, and it shows a Russian walking across the moon landing. Got the Russian USSR flag on his shoulder, and the USSR flag is flying. And apparently nobody's been able to prove that, like, their video technique at faking the video has gotten so good that nobody can figure out how it can prove it's fake. I mean, it's obviously fake. There's no Russian walked on the moon, but when you look at it, it goes, oh, that's pretty close. So you got an uphill climb. But I would like seeing that movie, because that video, because I've seen plenty of videos that says it's dude, you're just being paranoid.
It's not.
I do like a good conspiracy theory. So
I know somebody.
It does.
I did see the picture that somebody had a super high powered telescope, and just for the fun of it, they aimed it at the moon, at where they landed, like at one of the landing sites, and said, "There's the lander on the moon."
Yeah.
And that didn't seem to work.
I think that'd be, the most solid proof that you'd need. Undeniable, but Yes, some people say, it's just a cross.
I got you.
Okay, this article right here, very interesting. It's a conference from kindergarten to 12, right to grade 12, talking about whiteness.
Oh, yeah, that one. That was depressing. Yeah, let's continue our depressing. Our cavalcade of banality, as I like to call it. Maybe I should make that.
So, Eldritch God, I have to ask you, how do you combat whiteness?
How do you combat whiteness? Well, I simply stop being white. Because after all, race is a construct. And you just picture yourself as white. See, everybody's equal. From the Pope to a homeless man on the street. Since everybody's equal, everybody's opinion is of equal value. That means when you're saying, I don't like you, what you're really saying is, I think you're worthless and should die. And that's what being white is about. By just being white, you're telling everybody that they're worthless and horrible people. Your very presence insults everybody. So you just need to stop being white and start being, I don't know, black or Muslim or something else. And then you won't be white anymore and nobody will be offended by your presence and everybody will finally be happy. Just shoot me.
And if you pay into that that website for reparations, then that's elect as well, I presume.
Okay, let's get this straight. There are no microaggressions. They don't exist. That's why they're microaggressions, because they're so small you can't see them. Hell, I haven't even seen any proof that the subconscious exists anymore. I'm beginning to believe it doesn't. All right? That there is no id. There is no secondary personality hiding out in the back of your brain doing anything. You know, it's just implicit memories, and you can control your own mind if you want to. This Eurocentric pedagogical approaches. What the F? That is like Thesaurus Bubaki. Seriously, that's what it is. It's a bunch of guys masturbating and shooting thesaurus words on a sheet of paper. It's awful. Reimagining Education Summer Institute. You know, I've gotten to the point whenever I hear anything that sounds nice, that I assume it's automatically horrible. I don't know about you. What do you think?
I'm a bit over my head.
This event, in its second year, drew 300 participants, and the mostly consisted of K through 12 teachers and principals. The Institute's director, Amy Wells, said in a phone interview with The College Fix, the 4-day conference included planetary session. What the hell's a plenary session? Dozens of workshops and dialogue sessions. One presentation called Whiteness in Schools provided a history of whiteness and will invite participants into discussion of how whiteness and white culture shapes what happens in schools. In other words, white people are evil and you should all burn. It's like that one school that was separating kids, black kids and the white kids, and the white kids were going home and saying, oh my God, I'm a horrible person because I enslaved black people. You don't tell a 6-year-old kid that. Jesus Christ. Sorry, go ahead.
People take that guilt so seriously. Oh, I'm so sad because one of my ancestors hundreds of years ago did this to you. This is why I owe you something.
I love that argument because then I go, hey, guess what? Some of my ancestors were Jewish, and if you're a black guy, and you keep claiming we was Kangs, and you guys had the whole Egyptian empire, guess what? You were the first slave owners. Okay, so where's my reparations, asshole? You guys enslaved us first. You had it coming. Okay, we're even now. That's how it works. You enslaved my people for a couple hundred years. We enslaved you for a little bit. Deal with it. You know? It's
comparatively in a blink of an eye.
Oh, yeah, comparatively. It's like, oh, you were enslaved for a bit. And people forget that there were white slaves. People forget that, the Indians were allowed to keep their slaves after the Civil War.
People forget
that their
the
nation,
word
they
slave.
can keep slaves if they want.
Yeah, the actual word slave from Slav.
Yeah.
The Slavic people.
Yeah, the white people were the first
The-
slaves. And, you know, I mean, people forget, oh, when did the Crusades start? It started around 1000. No, it started about 300 years before that when the Muslims invaded. You want to know if a invading, you know, if a colony power is good or bad? Okay, look at any of the, when the British Empire was at its height, look at any of its colony nations and look at their birth rates. Did the birth rates stay the same or go up for the native population? If so, it's a really bad oppressor if you're not murdering all the locals. Look at any Muslim invading a Christian nation, and oh, by the way, oh, look, they just disappear. Birth rates go to 0 and they all die. I mean, you know, I've actually talked to people who believe that Jerusalem, you know, Jerusalem, you know, Jew, was owned by always by the Muslims. It's like, what the fuck? What the hell? You know,
if that's the case, can we take Constantinople back?
you know, the northern Africa used to be Christian until, you know, Muslims came up and then they murdered everybody. They just murdered everybody. How many Christians are in North Africa now? Anywhere along the coast? Anywhere? No? Oh, but in Libya right now, there's open slave marts. Anybody complaining about that?
Did you know that it was basically for about 100 years, no one lived on most of the Spanish coasts because of Muslim pirates?
Oh, no, yeah, I believe that. Vlad the Impaler, you know what he did? He gave them a taste of their own medicine because they were doing it to children. The Muslims started impaling people on spikes first. And they just didn't do it just to the armies. They did it to the women. They did it to the children. They did it. So he said, oh, you want to do that? Well, guess what? Every guy you send over here is dying on a pike because you did it first. But who gets all the blame? Vlad the Impaler, he's the monster. What? Why is our society suicidal? I don't get it.
Well, Vlad did do some pretty terrible things, but
Well,
he was
he
also
obviously
really
went insane. He obviously
Yeah.
completely snapped at one point. You know, you're trying.
I'm still not entirely convinced about the whole dipping bread into blood. I mean, some say he did, and others say he might have done, but there's no proof of it. But there is proof, or well, there's proof we can get that he did eat his dinner among the dead.
I'm
Well,
thinking that actually what it was is at some point he said the only way we're going to win, the only way we can win because they outnumber us is if we scare the shit out of them. I have no doubt that a lot of the stories about him were just psychological propaganda
That's
to scare the shit out of
absolutely true.
I mean,
He did take so many people that when one China came to invade, they saw how many people he'd put on spikes and sticks that they just literally turned back around.
oh yeah, yeah. I mean, he did a fine job, and I mean, nothing personal. Being from Poland and kind of leaning towards the Eastern European side of things is hereditary wise. I'm like, thank you very much. I appreciate everything you did, Vlad. In fact, the locals, they love him. There's no, oh my God, he was a monster. It was, yeah, Vlad, he's one of our heroes.
Apart from the home,
yeah.
apart from the homeless, he did cure the homeless problem in a way.
Yeah, that's true.
He invited them to a big dinner in his own castle, gave them all the lovely food that they had, shut the doors, and then set fire to that part of the castle.
Yeah, I do understand. I think at some point all of it got to him,
Yeah, I think that was in his later years.
In his later years, he probably kind of snapped. It's a different time. I was like, yeah, that's clearly a bad thing to do, but I've also got to say is, did he like, did he pick up some disease that was eating away at his brain? Syphilis was kind of popular in the era. I'm certain that Vlad the Impaler got a lot of poontang.
Yeah. It wouldn't surprise me.
So he may have been sane for most of his life and then picked up some disease that was putting holes in his brain. So, and at least in the modern age, I don't blame crazy people for doing things. But this whole deconstructing racial microaggression seminars to help participants identify ways in which the educational system perpetuates racial microaggressions both within classroom practices and within institutional climates. It's just social justice nonsense. And yet they're eating this up. I don't know. This is the part that makes me think we're doomed.
At what point is it all going to get too much, where it swings back around again?
Honestly, I think it's starting to, and I think it's because of the internet. The internet never forgets. Okay, and I have noticed, I haven't heard of anybody who gets red pilled who then turns around and goes back to being feminism. I don't know if you guys have, but I really haven't seen it.
The closest I've seen is the Skeptic Plus community.
Well, that's because they're trying, we can make deals with them. No, you can't. You can't make deals with them. No, the time for being reasonable is over. I'm not saying we need to get lead pipes and take to the streets and beat people's heads in. Far from it. I think we need to wait for them to get the lead pipes and take to the streets and start killing people. Because that's what we need them to do. They need to snap first. We don't do anything violent, they do. And then we document it, and then we beat them up with it. Because the cops don't like social justice. I'm telling you right now, the cops, paramedics, anybody, firemen, none of them. None of these people. Anybody who, and you might think, the black people are on the social justice. No, they're not. At least black people who work. Every black person I work with, and I wind up working with all of them at some point or another, and I feel them out, and you know what? I have no problem talking to them about all of this the moment I hear them say, you know what? This nation doesn't have any morality. A lot of them are religious, and I'm an atheist, I admit it, but I love Christians. I love you guys, because when you start talking about morality, I'm like, oh, thank you. I know you're on my side now.
Right.
Because they are. But I found this when I'm talking to them that works a lot longer. You don't say I'm anti-feminism. You say I'm anti-feminist Marxist feminism. I'm anti-communism. It is okay in this modern age to say I hate communism and I hate Marxism to reasonable people. And then if you say always couch it in that manner, you'd never run into any pushback. Because they're going, communism hates religion, or when they talk about crazy, that remember that, I don't know if you guys, the cake guy who was forced to make a wedding cake for a gay couple by law.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Oh no, they got fined $30,000, something like that.
Yeah, my thing is, if he had a bunch of cakes on the shelf, I can get you. Okay, I've already made the cake and I'm refusing to sell it to you. That's wrong. But I want you, an artist, to make me a cake and I'm going to force you by law to do it. That's wrong. That's wrong.
Do you know Stephen Crowder has actually this and actually Muslim bakers ask for a gay wedding cake, and all of them refused.
Wow, did he charge them? Did he prosecute and sue them?
Well, no, I believe, but they've got the footage of it, of them all saying, no, I'm not doing that.
Wow. I hope he's suing. I hope he's suing each and every one of them. Because that's where this leads to. That's where it leads to. But the thing is,
but then it will be. Then it will be religious freedom. Don't care if it's not, then they'll go about religious freedom.
Yeah, of course, because it's not about religious freedom. It's about power. It's about control, and it's about Marxism. My grandfather. I've been thinking about this lately. I think back to a lot of things he did when I was a kid. Did I ever tell you about the hand incident? I don't know if I mentioned that. I was in.
No, I believe you haven't.
When I was I was either 6 or 8 years old. I don't know if you know what a moose lodge is. Lodge around here. All the Polacks hang out at the Moose Lodge. They have big, huge functions there. One day I'm sitting there playing Parcheesi, girl, and Grandpa comes over. You must bear witness to something. And I remember him saying it like that. I don't remember a lot of details, but I remember that part. And I remember going, oh, okay, come along. And I said to the girl to come along with me. And he said, no. And she started whining and she said, this is not for, and I used whatever Polish word means girl, not for girls' eyes and something like that. Like he did in that voice, advise people. Like when Grandpa talked, he could dominate the room. And then he brought me over to this one room. It was like a coat room or something. It was kind of small. He put me in and then he stepped out and closed the door. And it was like me and 5 other boys, 2 men. One of them only spoke Polish. The other guy was doing the translating. And this guy just escaped from Warsaw. And as I'm 6 years old, I'm like bored out of my mind. I'm not really paying attention. But at one point I go, hey, what happened to your fingers? And he holds up his hand and he goes, they ripped out my fingernails and cauterized it. And that's why they're all scarred. And I'm like, And that's what I think of when I think of communism. I think of getting your fingernails ripped out.
Yeah.
Because that's what happened to Poland. But my grandfather used to tell me the most horrible stories. And they were always the same. They were like, there's a young boy and he grows up with a good friend. And when they get older, the good friend becomes a hard worker for, the evil tyrant because it's the only jobs available. But the young boy wants to be a hero. And then some old man comes along and saves him and starts teaching him how to fight the evil. And then the kid goes, I know, we need more help. I'll go get my friend. And then he goes and gets his friend and his friend betrays them. And the old man has to save the young hero's life at some point. And then he dies. And then the hero's entire family dies. And he's telling me this when I'm 10. And then the young hero has to kill his best friend and then finally go after the big evil. And then he discovers the big evil has been around for so long. He's just evil and corrupt and killing him's a mercy. And then you think, and then he lives happily ever after. Oh, no. Then he gets to stand on the wall forever watching for evil to return. These are stories my grandpa used to tell me all the time. And at the time, they gave me nightmares, some of them. But, now that I'm thinking about it, it's no, you were just trying to teach me how to be an insurrectionist. And I didn't, after the fall of the Berlin Wall, I thought, hey, this whole communist thing, it's done, it's over. No, it's not. Dear God, it's not. I've been saying you must be a socialist. You must pay for these social programs. If it's such a great program, people will pay for it on their own. Now, that I think is where the problem is going. They keep putting guns to people's head and saying, give us your money, give us your taxes, or we'll put you in jail. Then they spend it on the socialist stuff. If it was voluntary, I don't think we'd have any of these problems because voluntary socialism would still be subject to market. Capitalism would weed out the bad socialism and keep the good stuff. You don't have to get rid of all socialism. You just need to get rid of the socialism that comes from the barrel of a gun at this point. I don't know. I'm sorry to digress here, but.
Agreed, though.
Well. Shall we get into something at least a little funny? Because I did find one good Florida man. Florida man never fails to provide something every week. I like this Florida man.
So what's the meaning?
Alexander Sperber, who robbed a bank, stripped naked, and then ran down the street throwing stolen money in a spectacle that he somehow thought would jumpstart his career as a comedian. Instead, the 25-year-old was charged with bank robbery. Florida man, you never fail to bring a smile to my face.
No point. Yeah. That'll work. They'll not throw me in jail if I just throw all the money away.
He got $4,700 in cash in a bag. And when he reached inside after he left, the red dye pack that they put in all the bank exploded, staining his clothes and a cast. He apparently had a cast. He was robbing with a broken left wrist.
Oh.
And then Florida man
That's dedication for you.
Oh, that he just ran down the street throwing the money. After stripping off all his clothes, he said, "Oh, these clothes are ruined. I can't wear them anymore." And then they found him to be incoherent and uninjured, and then they sent him to jail. It's like, wow. Oh, I love Florida Man. Florida Man, we need you now more than ever. Any thoughts?
Well, have a look. We'll have a look out for him when he gets out of prison. If he can start his career then.
Been quiet, Chief. Anything up? Did you pass out on us? How long we been going? About an hour now?
Let's see. 57 minutes. So yeah, close enough.
Yeah, I'm looking at the rest of this stuff, and most of it's. Although I do want to mention, because I think this is funny, Hurricane Hillary has weakened to a tropical storm. It might turn out that it turns out she's a fizzle and probably won't even threaten land. So I think that's funny that Hillary, the tropical, the hurricane is going to fizzle out. I think that's appropriate on some level and will never bother anybody.
Yeah, hopefully it can reflect on the other Hillary.
Oh God, yeah, she's
time to go.
too. Some people still try to back her. Part of me is also going, no, don't. I hope you hang around. I hope you run in 2020 because nothing would assure the victory of Donald Trump more than her running for president a third time.
Very true, because I think most of the strength of Trump's win was basically down to his opponent.
Yeah.
Because who the heck? Because yeah.
I mean, if it hadn't been from her, he wouldn't have won. I don't know if he could have won against anybody else. I really don't.
If they picked Sanders, then I think he wouldn't have. Then I think Sanders would have won.
Al, last two things I want to bring up real quick here. Venezuela, favorite topic of mine.
Yeah.
Said the president of Colombia said flat out, we will not recognize the results of Sunday's election in Venezuela. So when Colombia stands up and says, you're kind of full of shit, you know that you have crossed the Rubicon. You have gone too far.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this guy is just, their nation is just, the guy's got to go. Heck, everything communist down there needs to go. Everything. I understand you might be saying that jarring a difference might cause problems, but at this point, your country's in open revolt. All right.
Yeah, how much did they try to inflate the currency there?
The interest rate, I believe, last I checked, topped 2,000% inflation.
Yeah. Not gonna work.
And Colombia is taking in refugees from Venezuela. 1,500 refugees.
Oh, right.
And Colombia is not doing too good. The fact of the matter is I applaud you, Colombia. I applaud you. That you are truly, you've had a bad reputation in the past. I applaud you, sir. That is very, very noble of your country. I'm glad you're helping him out because Venezuela needs to be. And the only last thing I wanted to mention, because, well, I think it's just one more little inching towards Armageddon. I don't know if you noticed among the blizzard of BS on mainstream media, but Iran launched a space satellite. Now, I know you might be saying, what's that got to do with anything? But if you can launch a satellite, you can launch a nuclear missile to anywhere on the planet.
Yeah.
The thing
so
is,
they do have that capability.
Yeah. The thing is, though, I'm sitting here and going, You know who, like Germany, you know what they're saying? Oh, we're raising our concerns with Iran. It's like, God, you're raising concerns. Why don't you just bend over and grab your ankles? Because it would certainly be easier.
Yeah. I mean, anything Germany does now, or in France, or anywhere, anyone in the EU, pretty much, or UN, if they say don't do that, everyone else is just going to go on, try to stop me.
Well, that's pretty much the major things I wanted to touch on. I think at this point we can wrap it up. I usually like a happier stream, but this stream is just, wow, it's a week that sucks. Anything you wanted to address that we skipped over?
A little bit of good news. The website or group called Going Down, they had their Patreon taken down.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow, that's good news. About time.
Yeah.
I mean, they were actually advocating for violence, if I recall correctly.
And, yeah, all the destruction of property and all that stuff. So I think it's about time, like, with the whole Lauren Southern thing that happened last week, or just over a week now.
I have a feeling that Patreon is starting to, you know what, I got to get around to deleting. I've never used it, but I should delete it. But I think Patreon realized that was an incredibly stupid idea because there were several dozen other YouTubers who echoed her, and some of them have like 500,000 subscriptions. Like, you don't want millions of people to find out that you're censoring. Like Patreon, we only want you using our service if we like you. That's a lousy, sales pitch. Sorry, friend.
Yeah, I think that might have been the reason why It's Going Down went down as well, though, because people would have been saying, well, if you've gotten rid of her,
how about the actual violent people?
Just reporting stuff? Yeah. How about these Patreon accounts? Why don't you shut those down, belonging to people who actually are advocating violence and death?
Well.
So it's a step in the right direction, but yeah, I think a lot of people lost faith in Patreon now.
Yeah, I have no faith. If I ever get around to asking for, I'm probably going to go with PayPal. Here's my PayPal account. Please pay. Prefer to stick with them. Anyway.
Yeah.
Now it doesn't look like we got anything comments from the few viewers we had wander through. Any other last minute topics you want to discuss? I mean, we got a couple things.
Yeah, I'm done, I think.
Yeah, same. I'm sorry I wasn't here for the last couple of minutes.
Oh, it's okay.
Yeah, we know.
Howling my dogs out. They're barking.
Gotcha. I did want to save one thing that I wanted to end on, at least somewhat of a happy. Out of Columbus, Ohio. You know, the conviction's honest. Like when you get 12 drug addicts, trying you and you're a drug dealer and they go, yeah, he definitely crime. Then he's guilty, because if anybody was no, don't lock up my supplier. Hell no.
Yeah.
Alrighty, well that's where we'll wrap it up here. Well, it's been real and it's been vaguely fun. And it hasn't been real fun. It's been really downright depressing. But you've been listening to Eldritch Rants. And at the very least, I hope you guys have a more pleasant day.
Night, everyone.
Good night.
Have a good evening.